I just finished building this all-white AM5 gaming PC. If you want to get into AM5 but want to stick on a budget, I highly recommend you check out this video and see how we built it. Let's get into it. Starting it off right, we got the Prime B650-A Wi-Fi 2. This is an amazing board for AM5, especially if you're on a budget and you want a white build. It has a white I/O shield right there. It's looking super good and it's a good price. So let's go ahead, open this up and see what's inside. Got the Wi-Fi cable, very nice. We're gonna definitely need this to connect for Wi-Fi later on. Inside we have the beautiful B650M, does have that Wi-Fi, tons of USB ports, and it's a really great board for the price. So let's move that on to the side and see what else we need. In here we have the I/O shield, which we're gonna use later on in the case. And as well, we do have some standoff screws for the M.2. Next, we have the Ryzen 5 7600X. It's an amazing processor and it just went on sale for $200 Canadian. It's an absolute steal right now. Couldn't ask for any better performance for the price. So that's why we're using the 7600X. Beautiful in its packaging. Time to open this up and let's get that CPU down in place. So for the CPU, you will see two little notches, one at the top, one at the bottom. You want to make sure those are aligned with the motherboard, otherwise you may break some pins and that's never good. Costs a lot of money. So let's go ahead, close this up, take off the shroud, and let's get rid of the CPU packaging. Next, to complement this build even further, we got T-Force 6400 MHz RAM in white, beautiful RAM. It comes with a lifetime warranty, has RGB, and it's even cheaper than the leading competitors like Corsair, and it's just a much better RAM kit. I absolutely love using T-Force. We haven't had a lot of issues with them, so that's always the biggest benefit. Plug them in one at a time. We're doing A2, B2 for this one. As well, for every other build, you're always going to want to put your RAM in A2, B2. And also make sure that the RAM, because the RAM has one side that's longer than the other, you want to make sure that they fit properly and you're not breaking anything. Moving on, we got the Kingston NV2 1TB M.2. If you're on a budget, this is one of the best performing M.2s. It's got good speed, it's got really good reliability, and an even better warranty. So for the price, if you're going on a budget system, I highly recommend you use the NV2s, especially if you can catch them on sale. Next, to cool the PC, we got the Cooler Master ML2 40mm AIO in white. It's an amazing cooler, and for the price, you can't really get better than this. Cooler Master is an amazing brand that stand behind their warranty, so I always love using these coolers. If we were using a bigger case, I might opt for the 360mm cooler version of this. However, because we're only using a 7600X and a 3000D, which only supports 240mm, we're gonna go with this guy. So let's open it up and see what we need inside. Definitely need the fans, so let's put these off to the side. I'm gonna need the cooler, so put this off to the side. And in here, we have all the standoffs and all the brackets that we need. Since we're using AMD, it's gonna be super simple. We just use these and we can pretty much throw everything else out. We don't really need much else. There's a couple cables in here that I will pull out, a couple screws like the radiator top mounting screws, as well as the screws that hold in the fans. And everything else I would say is not really needed. The thing I usually like to do is just lay out all the screws that I need. That way it makes everything simpler and clutter-free. Now, here's a little piece of advice when building. If you're a new builder or a seasoned builder, you'll know that a magnetic screwdriver is essential. When picking up screws, this screwdriver does an amazing job. That's why I absolutely love using it. I did actually get to customize this screwdriver at LTT. Shout out to Linus. It's an amazing screwdriver. I've been using it ever since I got it. And on top of that, we also got 5 other LTT screwdrivers in the office because none of them work as magnetic as this. See, this would be a challenging thing to do without a magnetic screwdriver. Because I have one, it's just super easy. For the next part, we gotta apply some thermal paste. Cooler Master provides us with some really good thermal paste. And what I usually like to do is just do a simple X pattern right across the CPU. If you don't do the best job, don't worry, it does spread out. You can see here I didn't do the best job, however, it'll be adequate for the cooling. Let's go ahead and get this cooler down in place. We're gonna put the tubes towards the RAM. Sometimes you do have to fidget with these just to get them in place, and once they're in, you're gonna go ahead and screw them in with your fingers. You want a finger tight. You can't really use a screwdriver for this part, so try your best. If you feel like it's snug and it can't really go further, then you know you've done the good job and it's finished. So there we go. The next part, we're moving on to the Corsair 3000D Airflow. This is an amazing case. It does come in white. That's why we're using it. Beautiful case. It's gonna look absolutely phenomenal with this all white theme build. We also got some white extension cables, and it's gonna look great. So let's go ahead and unbox it. Anytime you go ahead and open up a PC case, I always recommend you open it from the bottom, and look how easily this slides right out. Super simple, you don't have to wiggle it around, it just comes right out. Quick little tip, I usually like to leave the plastic on the outside, that way the customers have that pleasant experience. However, on the inside, a lot of people forget about it. And if you leave the plastic on the inside, it can get hot and you might smell burnt plastic, so go ahead, take that off, and we're gonna go ahead and leave the front one on. Also inside this case, we have a bunch of these cables right here. We do have an instruction manual. Obviously, we got some screws. And don't forget, in the 3000Ds, they like to pack this little foam in between the HDD. So go ahead, pull that out, pull out the manual, and let's just toss them right out. Let's move on to the motherboard. Let's get it in here. But before we do that, there is a couple things that we need to do. The first thing is we gotta add this IO shield. And the second thing that's probably most often missed by PC builders is getting the correct motherboard standoffs on the case. So for this build, we're using an M.2 motherboard, and the standoffs don't actually support it. They support a full ATX, so we can just quickly move those around. For this, I'm using a quick little tool that takes off the standoffs and just puts them in the right place. Now that we got the standoffs in, time to add the IO shield. This part can be a little tricky, and I've seen a lot of people cut themselves, start bleeding with it. Just be very careful and try to get one corner in at a time. Once you hear the click, you know it's in. Now it's the motherboard time. Let's go ahead, drop it in, and make sure all the holes are aligning with the motherboard holes on the case, just like so. Beautiful. All right, so now we got the motherboard in. I'm putting the cooler right on the side, and let's go ahead and screw that motherboard down. Great, so now we got the motherboard in. It's time to move it to the back, and let's start doing some cable management. Obviously, we got the IO shield, all that good stuff here. I'm gonna quickly do the cable management and we'll get to the next part. If you guys like the cable management side of things, please let me know in the comments and I could definitely include it into the next video. But until then, let's fast forward and skip to the power supply. Moving on to the power supply, I'm using an 850 watt Gold from Cooler Master. We absolutely love using Cooler Master products. They stand behind their warranty, 10 years on this guy. And on top of that, to match the aesthetic, we got some white extension cables. So let's go ahead, build out the power supply, and let's get this bad boy in. Inside, it does come with this nice little bag. You'll see the power cable and all the different cables that we're gonna need to use. From this build, I'm only gonna need a couple things. I will need 2 CPUs, I will need the motherboard, a SATA, and I won't need any PCIe because instead I'm using a 4070 Super, so it does come with this nice little cable that goes straight into the power supply and straight into the GPU. When building out a power supply, this is one of the benefits of having a modular one. You don't need all the cables from there. You can just choose which ones you need and eliminate some extra cables. All right, we got all the cables in. Now it's time to go put that power supply right in its spot. So right here, just with one hand, kind of get it in, and the other hand, try to wiggle it around. All right, power supply's in. That was a little difficult with this case. However, we got it in, no problems. All right, so the power supply is in, and the next thing we need to do is connect these extension cables. These don't replace these cables, instead they add on to them. Think of it kind of like when you're adding a power extension bar and you're adding an extra cable, that's all it is. You don't want to replace your current power supply cables with these, just add them on as an extension. All right, now that we got most of the things cable managed, I did leave a couple things for the radiator, which we're gonna add in next. One thing that I like to do is add all the cables behind, pull, and as you're pulling, you move the radiator up towards the top, just like so, until it lines up just like this. You'll see here, I have all the screw hole openings, and next we're gonna screw that radiator down. Just like with most PC components, you generally want to screw it in diagonally. I start with one side, go to the next, and now I can let go of the radiator, and I can just simply install the rest of the screws without having to worry or hold it. Next, let's move on to the graphics card. For this build, we're using the Asus Dual 4070 Super. It's a 12 gig card, amazing price to performance. I love using the 4070 Super, especially if you're trying to get into 1440 gaming. So let's go ahead and unbox this and get it open. It does come with this nice little pamphlet. When you open it up, it should have a little trading card. A lot of the Asus products do. Yeah, perfect. You get a little trading card, kind of like a Yu-Gi-Oh! Pokemon card. It's really nice. You also do get some stickers and these cool little phone holders, all that good stuff. So if you're in the market for these cool accessories, don't forget to check this box when you're opening up your GPU. For the part that we've all been waiting for, the Asus Dual 4070 Super. Beautiful, all white. It does come with this adapter, which we don't need unless you get a power supply that doesn't have this type of cable. So we don't need that because obviously we're using Cooler Master, which includes it. Wow. There's a ton of plastic on these Asus cards. I'm not gonna lie. It's a little bit tedious to kind of peel all of them off. A couple spots that people like to miss, especially the fan blades. You'll see that there's little peels here, little peel here. It's all over the side. Asus, they do this to protect their GPUs from scratches. I can't say it's a good or bad idea because if they're brand new, they shouldn't have any scratches to begin with, but good for them for keeping their products nice and clean. And I'm pretty sure I've gotten everything off. There are these little dust peels here, which I'm gonna go ahead and peel them off. And finally, the last peel, super satisfying. Awesome, got all the peels off and it's time to install the GPU. So now for the GPU, there's a little tab here you just gotta push down, aim the graphics card right in the slot and just kind of gently push it in. Make sure it's fully aligned and you should hear that click. Once you hear the click, you know it's in and it's time to screw it in. For the screws, I'm just reusing the case screws that came with this. I went ahead and I popped off those two little shields there and now I have access to put the graphics card in there. All right, with the graphics card seated, everything is complete and the only thing left to do is power the system on and let's see if it turns on. So flick that power switch and in 3, 2, 1, woo! Beautiful. It's working. All the RGB is turning on, all the fans are spinning, and I'd say the system is a 10 out of 10. I absolutely love the AM5 platform, especially if you can get a system like this under $2,000, under 1,500 USD. This is an amazing system. If you guys want to check it out, it's actually available on our website, www.gamertech.ca. It's on sale right now. Grab yourself one of these before they sell out. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. Please leave us a thumbs up, leave a comment down below, and hit that subscribe button. Till next video, guys, peace.